Hey everyone, today I'm very happy to talk to Ruth, AI Basecamp Accelerator lead at Outlier Ventures. Welcome to the show, Ruth.
Awesome, thanks a lot. Yeah, great to be here.
So just so we know your background story, what led you towards Web3 in the first place? And how did you end up at Outlier Ventures?
Yeah, so I've been deeply curious, I'd say, around emerging technology and its ability to kind of impact the world around us and kind of impact industries. So I got really interested in what was happening with Ethereum, kind of 2016. Around the same time, I was working at a bank in the payments innovation space and ventures. So really saw that there was a lot of potential to disrupt the status quo when it came to banking. And there were so many inefficiencies that exist within the payments landscape as well around the four-party models. So really saw it as a right initial use case for the implementation of kind of Web3 blockchain technology. And then started to do some other POCs, experiments with the team there around self-sovereign digital identity. Then moved to London, looking at what was happening around fintech, was in digital banking consulting, so working with lots of large retail and global investment banks, and Deloitte Ventures. So again, looking at kind of commercialization of emerging technology and collaboration with startups, doing a lot around what was happening with DeFi Summit at the time as well. So really kind of decided to make the move, join Outlier Ventures, and dive kind of full into this space. So I'm now the accelerator lead at Outlier Ventures. So what that means is really I help bring together the programs. So it's everything end to end, from looking at the investment side, recruiting different teams for the cohort, guiding them through the 12 weeks, quite an intense process of acceleration, and then helping them get fundraising ready, and then the teams will kind of pitch the wider investor network. So it's really quite amazing, seeing founders come in at the beginning and then all the way through the end, and kind of being on that journey with them as well.
And this is purely about the AI side of things from Outlier Ventures. And of course, you're running many different things as well. Outlier Ventures was established in 2014 as one of the earliest players in the crypto investment space, at least from those that remain still. So I'm very curious to hear, how has your investment approach shifted over the years? Has it always been accelerator focused, or have you kicked off with a more traditional venture capital fundraising route?
Yeah, so the origin story of Outlier is quite interesting, because it started a little bit more as an incubator, so kind of incubating projects at the R&D stage. In most cases, over several years, from token design all the way to rolling out networks, customer go-to-markets, things like that. It was really in late 2019, so kind of 6 years into the OV journey, the team decided to take everything they knew and everyone and kind of condense it into a super intense 3-month accelerator program, which we now call Basecamp. So it was initially headquartered out of London, but now it's global. So the startups are global, our team's really global. We still have the London office, but we've just finished working with our 34th cohort now. So yeah, it has been a really interesting journey. So now with the model, the accelerator really focuses on that 12-week time, bringing in teams and helping them with kind of 360 support. So we've got our in-house experts, mentors, and try and really help the teams and founders on their growth journey.
Right. So that's what the Basecamp stands for, right? The 12-week accelerator program that you work with like a group of projects to help them basically with fundraising, with a development stage, with everything that that particular project needs, right? So like, what are the key perks of Basecamps compared to individual project acceleration?
Yeah. So and the Basecamp, so it really focuses on kind of pre-seed, seed, and then sometimes towards the token launch, although we have a separate program, Ascent, that deals more with that. So some of the perks is I guess really bringing together this expert network of fundraising, token design, marketing, product and engineering, legal. So all the aspects that as a founder you might enter the space, and there's so much to navigate. It's really like you can kind of extend your team by tapping into all these different expertise. So definitely kind of expert network, the mentors as well. I would say Outlier almost operates as a bit of a node within the ecosystem, connecting founders in with all of these different aspects around the protocols or investors. So it really is a way for founders to kind of tap into all of that. With also other peers. I think the Basecamp is quite special in a way with the new model, because we also found that, it can be quite isolating being a founder and on the journey. So having these, shorter and, still quite small cohorts of, 6 to 8 teams, it meant that, founders in the program got to know each other really well. They were kind of going through similar challenges, and they could also work together and help each other navigate it. So there's quite a few other, perks when it comes to kind of partnerships and things that are in the Basecamp. But I think, that one of the first things is really the people, and kind of tapping into that and growing the support network around those founders.
Right. And it's not only like the network of the Outlier Ventures, but the network of those other projects as well in the same cohort, right? And that's like usually, especially in crypto, right? Networking is number one priority. Like without the network, you cannot go anywhere. You need fundraising, you need marketing, you need anything else that comes in the way of like development and achieving your roadmap. You need someone else to help you with it. Otherwise, like you're just going to be, as you mentioned, like very isolated, and it's very hard to achieve anything that way, especially in the crypto space. And of course, with Outlier, you already ran 34 acceleration cohorts, as you mentioned. So like this kind of model has proven successful in the long run. What do you think is like really the key contributor to longevity and continuous progress over the years?
Yeah, good question. I think, Outlier has been really committed to the space, despite changes in sentiment, over the years, whether it's a bull market or a bear market. So, in the bear market, it's been a really good time for builders. So I think actually that consistency has been really key. So I'd say that. Secondly, Outlier is again a Web3 native accelerator. So there's quite a lot of aspects of operating the space, which is really quite specific to the industry. So again, like that navigation and positioning to bring that deep Web3 expertise to help founders and tie them into the ecosystem, I would say is another one. But really we always invest while being engaged as as advisor or things like that as part of the accelerator model. So it's where we feel like we can directly impact and kind of help with the success of a project. So putting the founder first with that, helping where we can, bringing that kind of specialist expertise. And I'd say kind of keeping the cohorts small. It's a good balance because it's small cohorts. So, it's quite intimate, but then the founders can tap into this larger network of, kind of 300 plus startups now in the portfolio. And so it's really quite a cool, like synergistic portfolio that, we can have and so on. So founders definitely come into the ecosystem and can stay in that as well.
Yeah, because especially like with other accelerators or even venture capital space, right? There is a tendency to do a lot of quantity of projects, right? Like to kind of tap in as much as you can and then kind of try to balance it out with the resources and the materials you can give to the projects, which could be interesting, because then that could promote like creativity and interactions within the projects more, but also that could be a lack of attention and lack of that like deep-rooted support, which usually like especially early stage projects really need, either if it's a technical team that needs more marketing and exposure support, or if it's more of a business focused team that needs some aid in the developmental stages of the project. So I believe like the smaller cohorts are definitely focusing more on quality, even though there is enough space for quite a bit of projects to take place, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really good sweet spot because, the founders, they get one-to-one support, so can really sit down with all of the experts. And it's different to kind of you're one of, 100 or something otherwise in some of the workshops. And every startup is quite specific of, they're going through their own journey themselves and wanting more of that tailored support. So it's the best of both worlds in that way.
Yeah, and talking about the current day, what base camps are currently open for founders to apply at Outlier Ventures?
Yeah, so every quarter we run slightly different base camps. At the moment, we have 3 of our more thematic base camps. So we've got this, AI, crypto base camps. So looking at teams building at the intersection of AI and blockchain or Web3 technologies. We have a real world assets focus program and also a DePIN program. So looking at decentralized physical infrastructure. We also in other quarters have run either more protocol focused base camps, partnering with the likes of protocol labs for kind of Filecoin, Polygon and others, or we partner with larger enterprises like Walmart and Farfetch. So So yes, this quarter will be the thematic programs. So it should be a really interesting one.
And diving deeper into the AI space, right? Like that's the key buzzword, both in the traditional finance world and also in crypto. So what key structural issues within the internet and Web3 in particular can be addressed by the core level integration of AI in your view?
Yeah, so we outlined some of this in a thesis that we recently published ahead of the Basecamp, but we kind of saw that there were four structural internet issues with the internet today. So lack of data privacy and security, misinformation and kind of information overload, algorithmic bias and centralized control, and the indistinguishability and impact of bots. And some of these problems are likely to be enhanced with more of the proliferation of AI. And when you take it back, I mean, the original version of Web 1 with these, open permission networks is very different to where we are with, the large global, permissioned kind of walled gardens of the social media and big tech giants. So, I think as part of the thesis as well, we saw that AI and blockchain technology, they're both promising, but they lack in certain areas. So we saw there were benefits in the kind of convergence of, both of these two elements. So it's really AI forming the front end and blockchain forming the back end into this unifying tech stack. So we go more into it in the thesis, but ultimately, both AI and blockchain, they're about data. So, AI has been transforming the front end with more advanced, intelligent interfaces, but it remains reliant on conventional back end data storage and so on. So if you have the view that, AI will become more ubiquitous and pervasive in our lives, I think it's important to, also from a technological and creative way, find methods to address issues around, data breaches, privacy concerns, and those other problems areas. So the thesis kind of outlined those problem areas and a bit of a case of, why we see these two technologies being quite synergistic and the benefits of, combining them.
Outlier Ventures released the original Convergence thesis back in 2018, and this was the first time you began seriously investigating the intersection of AI and blockchain technology. What made both technologies synergistic at that time?
Yeah, I mean, we saw these technologies both being about data. So there was a lot of synergies that were there. So AI enhancing blockchain's kind of efficiency and security, and then also blockchain kind of bringing the transparency and decentralization to AI. So the convergence thesis, really set out, so what are the mega trends that allow other, macro trends to scale securely, converge and combine? So that was partly, looking at what is a true and fairer kind of P2P web, not only for individuals, but also autonomous machines and agents that can transact and share information securely without the need for a broker of trust, you could say. So this could see, large parts of economies really automated, removing, many market intermediaries, whilst improving efficiencies and so on. So we saw as part of, this original thesis that there was promising technology set out, such as, AI, the Internet of Things, 3D printing, autonomous robots, and it was the ability of blockchains and other distributed technologies to enable a more, automated way of operating, and even intelligent machine-to-machine networks that could transform other industries. So it's a long way of saying that we saw that there were these big trends, there was benefits and probably a likelihood of these combining, and we're now at a really interesting point where there is a lot more attention happening on the intersection of AI and blockchain. And I think it's just the beginning, because there's these two now, but there also could be a lot more in the future as this proliferation of AI and so on increases. So I think kind of then going back to the why and some of the principles is that we want this to also, these new technologies to be built in a way that has some of the user principles and good design principles at the heart of it. So as part of this program as well, we're kind of calling it AI is building the trust layer within the space, or Web3 really building the trust layer.
I definitely developed more into like, crypto can provide this trust and decentralization, and AI can provide the flexibility and data analytics, right, to very crucial points of like projects and technology stack. So that's definitely been, I think that the thesis of that have been improving over the years and reached the point where everybody is looking into AI, because that's a very valuable tool in whatever stage or niche of a protocol you are in. And of course, in your current AI and crypto thesis, you outline 3 different focus areas driving the intersection between AI and blockchain. You already mentioned AI and agents and decentralized data infrastructure. I believe there is like cryptography, enhanced machine learning as well. Why these 3? What was the rationale behind these?
Yeah, so we did an exercise that was really mapping, okay, what does the current, current state of the startup landscape look like within the space? And tried to really try and simplify these into 3 main areas as much as we could, because there is many aspects. So loosely, they are AI agents, the trust layer of AI, so kind of this privacy preserving aspect, and then decentralized data infrastructure. I think for the AI agents, we describe it as portable systems that can independently or in conjunction with kind of human interaction pursue goals and execute complex tasks. I think a lot of people still think of AI agents as just chatbots, but it's a lot more than that. So this could be things like UI or UX enablers, so kind of improving the user experience within the Web3 space using AI. Looking at DeFi agents, products for agent integration and interoperability and so on. So that was the first one. Second one around the trust layer of AI. So enhancing the trust and security of AI through distributed ledger systems. So examples could be cryptography, enhanced machine learning, so zero knowledge machine learning, things like fully homomorphic encryption, and other governance and compliance solutions. And then the third one was around this decentralized data infrastructure. So infrastructure for storage, data, compute models. We're seeing a lot of those types of companies as well at the moment. So it's definitely not an exhaustive list. It's just kind of simplified into those buckets as much as possible.
Right. And even though there are like simplified areas of focus, do you think covering these key 3 areas is enough for like AI infrastructure to excel the crypto space at this point? Or is this just the beginning and we will go much, much deeper?
Honestly, I think it's just the beginning. And so I think we will go deeper, and there's still a lot that needs to be built out. I think it's interesting. We recently had the founders of Fetch.ai and Ocean on speaking with our CEO Jamie on the podcast, and they were talking about the common founders journey. As in the spaces, someone might go to build an application, but then realize that there's core elements of the infrastructure that's missing. And when you look at both the AI tech stack and the Web3 kind of blockchain tech stack, within AI, you've got hardware, compute, foundational models, all the way up to applications. So there's, I think, a lot of areas that can still be improved. And as investors, we're really constantly on the lookout for founders that are uncovering new problems, unmet needs, and kind of see those new opportunities. So I think definitely at the beginning, and it's quite a lot of white space in some ways still to really build out this capability.
Looking at the more expansive kind of area of AI and blockchain, what are the different fields of application where you see AI and blockchain in particular coming together?
Yeah, good question. So in the thesis, we tried to map out as well some of the use cases, time horizons, so looking at what do we think is more short versus long term, and also is it blockchain improving AI or AI improving blockchains? There's kind of those 2 lenses that we can look at it from. In the short term, on blockchain helping AI, we could see this as opportunities around, so smart contract audit is an example, decentralized data marketplaces or decentralized storage. Again, on the AI helping blockchain, so the other side of the coin, going back to those problem statements as well, this could be AI and blockchain looking at content authenticity and audit, or some of those UX improvements, AI-driven analytics, and so on. So there's almost, the near term. I think longer term, it will have more of a transformative nature with things. So this is where some of the solutions around ZKML or more collaborative AI agents get really interesting. And it's still got a long way to go, I would say, in some of those areas. So we're really kind of curious, and and they've put some of these out there as, initial use cases. But sometimes these things surprise you. So again, there'll be something that's not there, and then a founder will come and want to pitch an idea, and it's ends up being a really big area. So again, just the beginning.
Yeah, and especially when you have more of a traditional focus points converging into crypto, right? Like AI primarily, it even boomed earlier in the traditional space, with more and more founders and then technology companies even integrating that in their tech stack. And that's, of course, where crypto started picking up those ideas too. And even like preceding the AI base camps, like Outlier Ventures were already interested in AI and made AI focused investments, right? DIA is one of your portfolio companies, a cross-chain data and Oracle ecosystem for Web3. What was special about their market data management so early on?
Yeah, so DIA, they'll also be one of our portfolio ambassadors for the upcoming program. So it's really exciting to kind of bring someone that was very early on in the base camp back to support founders going through. But to your question, yeah, so DIA was actually part of one of our first more structured base camps back in 2018 or 19. And was recently going back and looking at their original application, because it's quite interesting from an investment side to do a little bit of a retro and think about, okay, what was the rationale of why we invested in some teams and how have those teams changed? What was really clear with DIA is that, at the time, even the team could clearly articulate the problem they were trying to solve. So what they were building, why the world needs it. And also at the time, there were very few projects building what they were. So they had some kind of unique value proposition that they were bringing. And they were showing, some signs of the dedication that they had in the space that they've also, obviously continued to now. So it was quite cool seeing the original, application for them and everything that they've done so far. And great to be, that they'll be coming back and as part of this next base camp.
Right. And as DIA clearly shows, AI is crucial for data management, especially if you look at the major giants right now, like Google, Facebook, Apple. They really control vast amounts of data. And there's a lack of opportunities, to protect privacy or even engage in new monetization avenues, right? And this is where Web3 becomes super interesting. Was this the investment rationale behind the backing of the Ocean protocol, perhaps?
Yeah, so I mean, actually, on your comments around big tech, I think, the internet wouldn't really exist without creators. And big tech really it now controls, it's controlled by a few companies, I suppose. So I think it's really an important time with more companies like Ocean and so on to, with more data being shared to ultimately put the power back into the hands of users and creators. So I think with Ocean, Ocean have always been about data marketplaces, and they were very involved with AI from a long time ago, and the team had strong ideas about how AI fits into things. So I know Trent, one of the founders, was one of the first people to write about AI DAOs. So they've really kind of been in the space for a long time. And from an OV perspective, there was quite close relationships at the time and a collaboration with the founders. So I know the team saw what they were doing and really wanted to back them. Again, it's an amazing kind of journey that the founders have been on since then.
So what about someone like Fetch.ai? Outlier was a co-investor in Fetch's 15 million seed round back in 2018. Again, very, very early on. After which the project raised 60 million in follow-up rounds. What was promising about bringing AI to the developmental layer of Web3 infrastructure?
Yeah, so Fetch was one of the very early investments that OV made, and the team had incubated them over a long time. So they were really a deep tech R&D initiative, so quite different to the Basecamp model that we have at the moment. They're a really good example, actually, of a team that started out building something almost completely different to where they are now. So they, really started at kind of the application layer, doing some things around drones. The founder recently discussed this on a podcast with Jamie, our CEO, as well. Over the kind of incubation time, they were really working closely with the OV team, and they started to move down the stack. They saw that there were some problems that were further down, and they, had this broad and ambitious vision, wanted to build everything themselves, and ended up, narrowing in and kind of refining a lot further to where they are now, kind of this open network for AI agents that they're building. So they're actually a really interesting case study that, what they are doing now was quite different to the beginning and moving down the tech stack in that way. Again, Fetch will be part of the Basecamp. So kind of for founders who are looking at what have others, experience has been like and how have they evolved their idea, I think Fetch is a great example of.
I mean, even all three protocols we discussed just now, DF, Fetch, and Ocean protocol, they're all portfolio ambassadors for the current AI and crypto cohort. So how are they really involved in the program?
Yeah, so they'll be providing kind of mentorship, ecosystem, and technical support. So really kind of, all three of them have been building for almost a decade now. So as mentors, they've got some of the battle scars, and they've been operating through the ups and downs, and they've got lots of learning. So there's no one better, I think, to learn from, particularly within this vertical, than founders that have been on the journey themselves. So really excited to have, all these three as portfolio ambassadors and collaborators. So yeah, I love the mentorship or kind of those founder stories, will be of access to the teams in the cohort.
What about particular like niche collaborations, between AI and other verticals of crypto? Even mentioning like other cohorts you're running now, DePINs and real world assets. Do you have a particular kind of convergence there that you think, oh, this is super exciting for me? I'm really looking forward to exploring projects in those avenues between AI and a specific other niche.
Yeah, I mean, actually, like both real world assets and DePIN with AI, I think all of those three, there could be a lot of synergies that are there. In the past, when we've run different cohorts in parallel, we often see this cross cohort collaboration. So, in one of our IPFS cohorts, we had teams like Exabits and PhilSwan. So Exabits are kind of creating a decentralized compute marketplace. And PhilSwan, again, kind of in a similar space. And so there was a lot of, collaboration that was happening for teams that were looking at their solution and even brainstorming, new areas to go into. So I think it's definitely a past thing we see a lot. And for the final cohort and what the cohort looks like, I'm sure there'll be quite a lot. But I definitely can imagine the real world assets deep in AI. I would expect to see a fair bit there.
Right. And for the current AI cohort, the deadline is approaching quite closely, right? So what are the crucial things founders would need to know if they do want to apply?
Yeah, so the program will kick off kind of early to mid-May. And so we've got applications open at the moment. So if founders want to apply, I'd say you can find out more information on our website at outlierventures.io/Basecamp. And then there will be more information on the AI program there. Or else, feel free to reach out to myself as well, and always happy to chat with founders, kind of building in the space as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ruth, for coming on to the show. It's been really great having you and learning what you Outlier Ventures have been up to, especially in terms of AI and crypto and the projects that you have, incubated since like the first days that are now crossing the decade mark and are still standing strong. Can you please share how anyone can follow your work and acceleration journey as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great to be here. Thanks so much for having me on. From an Outlier perspective, you can find out more information at our website, so outlierventures.io/Basecamp, or else follow us on Twitter or LinkedIn at OVOHQ on Twitter. And then from a personal perspective, also on LinkedIn and Twitter, so Ruth Galvin, my Twitter's @_Ruth Galvin as well. So both of those will be good. But Leo, thanks again a lot for having me on the podcast today.